including tap water, seafood, and air. Scientists are still working to understand the health implications of long-term exposure. Evian continues to be produced under strict food safety regulations, and its branding emphasizes natural sourcing, which is common across many bottled water products. Volvic is often marketed as volcanic filtered spring water. It is sourced from a protected region in France and is widely sold across Europe. Some independent testing has examined trace elements, such as naturally occurring minerals and, in some cases, trace contaminants that can be present in natural groundwater depending on geological conditions. It is important to understand that all natural water sources contain some level of minerals and trace elements, and regulatory frameworks set strict limits on what is considered safe for consumption. Volvic is generally regarded as compliant with these standards, and discussions around it tend to focus more on mineral composition and taste profile rather than confirmed safety concerns. Fiji water is another premium bottled water, often associated with long-distance transport and environmental footprint discussions. It is sourced from an artesian aquifer in Fiji and exported globally. Like many bottled waters, it has been included in independent studies examining trace substances such as microplastics. Some reports have also discussed supply chain recalls in different markets over time, which is not unusual for large-scale bottled beverage distribution and can occur for various quality control reasons. Regulatory bodies typically assess such situations and determine whether any health risk exists. The broader conversation around Fiji water is often centered on environmental impact due to transportation distance rather than direct safety concerns. Highland Spring, a well-known Scottish bottled water brand, is widely distributed across the UK. As with any large bottled beverage operation, there have been isolated recalls in the past across the industry due to packaging or production issues. Regulatory systems in the UK require that such issues are investigated and corrective actions taken where necessary. These events do not necessarily indicate ongoing safety problems, but they do highlight the importance of quality control in large-scale production. UK food safety authorities maintain oversight of bottled water standards, and companies must comply with strict requirements. Buxton is another major UK bottled water brand sourced from natural springs. It is part of a large international group. Public discussion around brands owned by large corporations often focuses on environmental management, water extraction licensing, and sustainability practices. These are complex issues involving local regulation, environmental assessments, and water resource planning. In the UK, water extraction is regulated by environmental agencies that set limits intended to balance commercial use with ecological protection and public supply needs. Harrogate Spring Water is another UK brand often associated with natural spring sourcing. Like many bottled water companies, it operates within planning regulations and environmental guidelines. Occasionally, local planning decisions related to expansion or land use can attract public debate, particularly where environmental or community concerns are raised. These discussions are part of wider conversations in the UK about land use, conservation, and industrial development, rather than direct product safety issues. Supermarket own-brand waters such as Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, and others are generally sourced and bottled under contract by established suppliers and must meet the same UK food safety standards as branded products. Independent research studies have examined microplastic presence in bottled water broadly, and some have reported finding particles in many samples across different brands. However, methodologies, sample sizes, and detection techniques vary significantly between studies, and scientific understanding in this area is still developing. It is also important to note that microplastics have been detected in multiple environmental sources beyond bottled water, including tap water in various countries, which is why researchers are continuing to study exposure levels and potential health implications. When comparing bottled water with tap water in the UK, It is worth noting that UK tap water is one of the most heavily regulated water supplies in the world, undergoing frequent testing for a wide range of contaminants. Bottled water is also regulated but falls under different oversight systems depending on production and distribution. Many consumers choose bottled water for convenience, taste preference, or perception of purity, while others prefer tap water due to cost and environmental considerations. Across all of this, one consistent theme appears. Bottled water is not simply pure versus unsafe. Instead, it exists in a complex space involving regulation, sourcing, environmental impact, packaging materials, and consumer perception. Scientific research continues to evolve, particularly in areas like microplastics and PFAS, and regulators regularly update guidance as new evidence emerges. For everyday consumers, the most practical approach is not panic, but awareness. Reading labels, understanding sugar content in flavored waters, considering environmental impact, and staying informed about ongoing research can all help make better choices. For those concerned about water quality, UK tap water remains one of the most tested and regulated options available, and filtration systems can be used if preferred for taste or additional reassurance. At The Real Cost UK, the goal is not to create fear, but to encourage informed decisions based on evidence, transparency, and context. Bottled water may still be a convenient option for many people, but like any product, it is worth understanding what sits behind the branding, the marketing, and the price on the shelf. What matters most is not just what you drink, but how aware you are of the choices available to you. It's important to be clear from the start that bottled water in the UK is generally considered safe to drink under strict food safety rules. However, like many consumer products, it has also been the subject of scrutiny, independent testing, and debate around how it is marketed versus what it contains. What follows is a careful look at some of those discussions so you can make a more informed choice. One of the most talked about premium bottled waters is Voss. It's widely recognized for its minimalist bottle design and is often marketed as sourced from Norway. Over the years, some media reports and consumer commentary have questioned aspects of its branding, particularly how premium positioning compares with the actual production process and sourcing descriptions. In general, Voss is bottled in Norway and the United States depending on the market, and like many bottled waters, it is treated and processed under regulated conditions. Taste comparisons between waters are highly subjective, and blind taste tests have produced mixed results depending on who conducted them and under what conditions. What stands out most in the case of Voss is not a safety concern, but rather how branding and luxury positioning influence perception. It's a reminder that packaging and marketing can shape expectations as much as the product itself. Another widely discussed product is Smart Water, which is owned by a major global beverage company. Smart Water is produced through vapor distillation, and then minerals are added back for taste. This process is often described in marketing as enhanced or purified, which can sound more complex than typical filtration methods used in bottled or tap water. Consumer groups in Europe have at times criticized elements of bottled water marketing in general, arguing that terms like purified or enhanced can be interpreted in different ways by consumers. However, Smart Water is still produced under food safety regulations, and the mineral additions are considered safe at the levels used. The key discussion point here is less about safety and more about whether the additional processing provides meaningful benefits compared with standard spring or tap water. Vitamin water is another product that often raises questions among health-conscious consumers. It is typically marketed with added vitamins and fruit flavors, but it can also contain significant amounts of sugar or sweeteners depending on the variant. In the UK, advertising of food and drink products is regulated by the Advertising Standards Authority, and claims must not be misleading. Over time, Some vitamin-enhanced drinks have had advertising adjusted or removed where claims were considered unclear or exaggerated. Nutrition experts generally point out that while these drinks may contain vitamins, they are not a substitute for a balanced diet, and sugar content can be comparable to other soft drinks. The main takeaway from nutrition guidance is to check labels carefully, particularly sugar per serving, and understand that vitamin added does not automatically mean health drink. Perrier, a well-known sparkling water brand from France, is often associated with natural carbonation and mineral water sourced from protected springs. Like many bottled waters, it has been included in broader independent testing studies that examine trace substances such as microplastics or PFAS in bottled water globally. Some of these studies have found that microplastic particles can be present in many bottled water brands, though levels vary widely and research is still developing in this area. PFAS, sometimes referred to as forever chemicals, are a group of substances that have been found at trace levels in a range of environmental sources, including water supplies in different countries. Regulatory agencies continue to review safe thresholds as scientific understanding evolves. Importantly, detected levels in bottled water studies are typically very small, and regulators in different countries set safety limits based on ongoing risk assessments. Perrier, like other brands, operates within food safety standards, but the wider discussion reflects growing consumer interest in environmental contamination and packaging materials. San Pellegrino, another popular sparkling mineral water, is also frequently discussed in the context of ownership and sourcing. It is part of a large international food and beverage group. Concerns raised in public discourse tend to focus on corporate transparency and bottled water sourcing practices across the industry rather than confirmed safety issues with the product itself. As with other bottled waters, independent testing studies have occasionally detected trace microplastics in a range of bottled water products, though findings differ depending on methodology and sampling. There is currently no consistent evidence that such trace levels in bottled water at typical consumption levels pose immediate health risks, but research is ongoing, and scientists continue to study long-term exposure effects. This is an area where public interest is growing faster than scientific consensus. Evian is another globally recognized bottled water brand, often marketed as originating from the French Alps. It is regularly included in international bottled water studies. Some of these studies have reported microplastic particles in many bottled water brands, including Evian. Though again results vary depending on testing methods, it is also worth noting that microplastics have been detected not only in bottled water, but also in other food and environmental sources. You're standing in the drinks aisle of a major UK supermarket, looking at rows of bottled water and trying to decide what to pick. It feels like a simple choice, but behind these bottles there has been growing public discussion, media reporting, and scientific research raising questions about labeling, sourcing, environmental impact, and trace substances found in some bottled waters.